So everybody memo. All right, so thanks everybody for joining. We're super happy to have you. My name is Mason Thurmond. I'm with the Ventura County Resource Conservation District, and one of our projects is the Ventura County Wildfire Collaborative. This virtual speaker series is a project of that collaborative, and I'm really excited to have two amazing ladies here to talk to y'all about alerts and technologies that they are on the forefront of. First, I'm going to go ahead and launch a little poll here. And we'd love to hear more about y'all and what your background is like. And if none of those apply to you, there's an option at the bottom to hit not listed here. So go ahead and click any option that describes your personal or professional background. And then once everybody participates in that, I'll go ahead and end it. It should pop up on your screen. And while that's going, a little bit more info about the collaborative. We just started in January of last year, and this is a project of the Ventura County Resource Conservation District, Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council, Ojai Valley Fire Safe Council, Bell Canyon Fire Safe Council, Ventura County Fire Department, and Jensen Hughes private organization. We all work together on some main projects, including education outreach and getting all of you in touch with experts and getting you the opportunity to ask questions directly and engage with folks. So that's what we're doing here tonight. Thanks for joining us on a weeknight, almost the weekend. I'm going to go ahead and end this. We had a couple people participate. Thank you so much. I think if I hit share, y'all should be able to see a few people. There's some background. There you go. And we can launch right into our alerts and technology virtual speaker series. So tonight we have Nora Cooper, who's an operations center manager from Alert California. She's going to be demonstrating, telling us about that technology. We also have Rachael Brady, who is an old colleague of mine. I'm so excited to see a familiar face here. And she worked with CAL FIRE for 15 years now. She's the founder of the Analytical Moose, and also the creator of an app called Wildfire Aware, which she's going to demonstrate to us tonight. So I'm so excited to have you both on. There'll be opportunities at the end for Q&A. Pop them in that little Q&A box or in the chat at any point, and I'll be moderating that. If you do have any questions, we should have plenty of time to get to them. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Nora, to get started.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I feel really honored to be speaking with both of you tonight. So I'm going to give a little bit of background on what Alert California is, and then I'm going to show you some of the website features. Please bear with me. I've been having a little bit of technical issues tonight, so hopefully that doesn't rear its head too much. So basically, Alert California is a UCSD public program that started way back really in 2014 with a project called Weather Node that was more weather and seismologically based, and then in 2018 turned into more of a collaborative effort between UCSD, the University of Nevada, Reno, and University of Oregon via Alert Wildfire. Alert Wildfire still exists, and you might have heard of it, but last year UCSD decided for multiple reasons to kind of start doing their own thing a little bit more, and so merged into Alert California. So Alert California is a camera network of over 1,000 cameras across the entire state of California, all the way down to the border of Mexico, all the way up to the border of Oregon, that help monitor for wildfire conditions. And so we support about 2,700 users across the system. UCSD does a lot of really great research on actually like post-wildfire debris flow. They do LiDAR mapping in order to track seismological changes that happen in the after aftermath of wildfires. So we've seen an increase in landslides after wildfires, and UCSD really pioneers the research on why that happens, how that happens, and where it's most likely to happen. Because we've seen a lot of devastating wildfires over the past several years. And that change in the landscape actually has drastic seismological changes as well. So in addition to that, they also had a lot of research on impacts to air and water quality. And so that they pioneer a lot of the research in that way. So the Operations Center, which is sort of more where I work, deals with camera maintenance. We work with a lot of internet service providers to coordinate that and make sure that the cameras stay online as often as possible. And so the people who primarily use these cameras are first responders across various agencies. So we work with CAL FIRE, with US Forest Service, with Bureau of Land Management, and local level fire departments as well, in order to make sure that we can increase situational awareness while also decreasing dispatcher workload on the whole. Because if you can get the visual on a fire faster via these cameras, it means that you can save more money, more lives, and also time. So the faster you get eyes on the fire, the faster you get resources out to suppress it. So with that explanation in mind, I feel most comfortable being able to demonstrate what the website looks like. So I'm going to share my screen and do that now and hope that it works. So go to the website and see the camera feeds. You can't move a camera as a member of the public. However, anyone can go to the website and see immediately what's happening in any given area. So these are the four main components, essentially, of the Alert California homepage here. The link for it is alertca.live. So if you go here, you'll see this map of California. This is our camera network. And then these are the four most recently moved cameras across the state. You also have the ability to search for specific cameras. So if you live in an area and you know what a camera is called, you just type that camera name in. So I'm going to send Lee Mountain, which is one near me, and it'll just show up in the search bar here. And then the map has a bunch of features I'll talk about in a minute. And then these four most recently moved cameras kind of give you an immediate situational awareness. So you can see we have some smoke activity here in the North Bay area. And then also down here in Tuolumne, we've got some fire activity as well. So you can also set it to the point where you like put your real-time location. You allow it to view your real-time location, indicated by this pin here. So I'm based up in Chico, California. And based on my real-time location, it's going to show me every camera in the system from closest to furthest away from me down here in the map. So the further down I scroll, the more I start to see cameras that are down in San Diego. And then it's just being a little bit slow because of my internet situation right now. But the camera feeds are just right immediately there. So you can scroll and immediately see what's happening. So one great thing about the California system is that you have, even if without a login, you have access to kind of not just view feeds, camera feeds, but also use certain map tools. So I used to live in Santa Cruz, so I'm going to use this as an example here because I'm pretty comfortable with it. But if I wanted to just view all of the cameras in Santa Cruz County, roughly, I could use a polygon tool over here to kind of isolate those camera feeds and then pull them up on a separate tab so I can watch them and watch for any wildfire activity that's happening in my vicinity. So if I click on this here and I just left click on the map, it allows me to start drawing this polygon, and I can get really specific with it too. I can be like, well, I also want to go down here to like these cameras in Monterey Bay, but I don't want those ones there. But I don't really want the Dream In camera in Santa Cruz. I do want these. And then when I finish drawing my polygon, what I can do is I can click finish, or I can go back to that first point that I drew. and it's going to pull up all of these cameras inside that polygon on another tab. And just give it a moment to load. It'll be a little bit slow. So now that I've done, it's going to pull up this tile set here, home tile sets, and it's telling me my internet connection is unstable. Of course it is. So once it's got all of the cameras in this polygon that's specified, I can actually customize that further and say, oh, I don't actually want the Dream-In camera in here. And so it'll allow me to, when it finishes with loading and everything, it'll allow me to subtract that camera, or I can add another one. And then I can then further that tile to be what I want it to be. And then when I finish customizing it, I can click Save and Copy URL, and it will allow me to bookmark that. So I can have it as a reference, and I can favorite it, and I can send it to people. And so that allows me to increase my own situational awareness of what's happening in my immediate vicinity there. So I'm going to just hit Save and Copy URL. It's going to save it as a really easy bookmark for me, with that specific number always being that set. Likewise, I have, and this is all without a login, this is that the public can use, but I have other features that I can use as well. I have the ability to create or area measurements like this. I go from a cruise to Scotts Valley here, or I can make a polygon. If I want to know, like say here, draw a polygon. Okay. I can draw a polygon in this area, and then it will give me the acreage of what I'm looking at, and also the perimeter as well. And so then that will help me continue to increase my situational awareness. Say there's also a specific incident you're watching for, and a good example, we had a detection in this area. You can see that first responders were moving the cameras because of these color-coded target lines that appear on the map. And so I looking at, just give me a second to load. I'm literally doing this on my hotspot now. So once I hover over these cameras here, I have the ability to actually view what's happening, what the camera is looking at, see roughly that because of these target lines here. A first responder was moving this camera, and then where they were triangulating those target lines tells me essentially where that incident would be. And so then I can view the camera. Let me do it right now because of my internet connection. And then if I want to click, I also get the ability to get lat longs. And so those coordinates then allow me to kind of pinpoint where that incident can be. And I can copy and paste as well, and I can put them in other places as well. I can like for them on Google Maps, or I can go to my some viewers, responders, and you might actually use the system already. And so then you're familiar with copy pasting coordinates to other systems there. And that's access to as well. Likewise, I also have the ability to turn on matters as well. So if I'm curious about which CAL FIRE unit is in my area, I can turn that on, and I can also, it's not going to let me do that. Well, I can turn CAL FIRE on, and then I will have access to actually view which unit is in my specific area at any given time. You can see it's populating there. And so when that layer populates, I simply left click and then I can view the information. And like national forest bound California counties as well, and that helped me understand exactly who's responsible.
We might be losing your audio a little bit, Nora. I'm happy to screen share if you're still there. For a second to come back. Might have got a little overloaded there. And then for those of you that are watching, I threw a link in the chat, and it's exactly what Nora is screen sharing. So it's the same website, and it's publicly available for you to use and use some of those features that she was sharing with you. So, oh, we lost her. So you can take a moment while she maybe loads back on to explore that. Maybe we'll give her a few seconds. Otherwise, Rachel, we can kind of switch gears to yours. I think that was a good background. Yeah, it's a really cool feature. And I think also being able to save and bookmark that would be so helpful. You can just have your own neighborhood or county and have it open. So when you hear about an event or an incident, you can hop right on over to it real quick. All right, why don't we transition to yours? And then if there's anything else that Nora does want to share and she is able to log back on and the internet is in her favor, we can do that afterwards.
Sounds great.
Thank you for your flexibility.
Always. All right. Good afternoon or evening. I guess I've been on Zoom meetings too long today. So my name is Rachael Brady. I have the Analytical Moose. I recently created the Wildfire Aware app. So it was kind of kind of like where Mason started out. I spent 13 years with CAL FIRE. In 2020, I thought it would be really nice and fun to start my own business about a month before COVID took over our lives. So I launched into the business world at that moment. I actually had been transitioning to kind of like to lead fire service at the time. I had been involved with the campfire, the Thomas fire, all the car fire. It was, it was the beginning of that transition into the large fire arena that we're currently living in. And I just reached my max capacity of being able to really like cope and deal with everything that was going on. So my dad was at the time dying of cancer. There was all these life events going on. And I was like, I'm going to go out into the world and I'm going to start my own business. So with the skill set that I had, I left CAL FIRE and started the Analytical Moose. So then so then on September 27th, 2020, the Zog fire happened to our community. So this is actually a picture of my mom's house. Right in the evening of that first night when the garage is on fire and my husband would soon be coming down the hill to actually keep my mom's house standing. So it was really this catalyst event for how we got to Wildfire Aware. So I had always been on the inside, right? I worked for CAL FIRE. I was a dispatcher originally. I transitioned to being a GIS specialist. I knew where all the data was, and then all of a sudden I'm on the outside. And so it was a very interesting dynamic that happened where that all this data is available but the public doesn't see it. And so one of the things I wanted that after everything stopped spurring, my mom actually sat down and was like, I need you to fix this. She's like, you have the skill set. She's like, all the things you need to help fix this. You need to get the public the notifications they need about wildfires, because one of the biggest issues is that fire agencies don't always know exactly where the fire is. They also can't always get to you to help you get out of harm's way. So as we continue to see these large, fast moving fires, one of the biggest things that we need to be aware of as the public is how to keep ourselves safe and informed. So that was kind of this catalyst of how the app got started. So we sat down and I sat down, I was like, okay, first thing that everybody probably needs to know is new fires, right? Like a fire starts, I just need to know that a fire started. I can go outside and look around at my surroundings and see for myself what is going on, but just knowing that that fire started. So I use my example with the Zog fire quite often. My best friend who lives in Salt Lake City, her mom still lives in the neighboring community from me. She was laying down to take a nap that day. She had no idea that the fire had started. So I ended up calling my best friend in Salt Lake, and I'm like, hey, a fire started. If your mom's home, you need to tell her to get out, because it was right by her house. So she calls her mom. Her mom has exactly enough time. She grabs the keys off the counter. She grabs a few clothes out of the dryer. She goes out. She leaves her house in flames. Her house is later burned down, and she has nothing. Like, she has exactly what she was able to grab. And I think it was probably like about 5 minutes from like fire starting until like she got the phone call. But if she had 5 extra minutes, that would have made all the difference. Then another one of my neighbors had no idea that a fire had even started, right? So it's like 2 hours in, she has cattle, she's out doing things, but she has like kind of a hill in between her and the fire, so she can't see what's going on. Her daughter leaves for work. She then comes back and is like, there's a big fire. They ended up having 10 minutes. They should have had 2 hours to get ready to evacuate, right? Like, it's one of those things, like if you give the public enough time to get this information, they can start to make smart decisions. And it saves us some of that evacuation issues that actually occur, right? Like, if we give everybody just a little bit more time, it takes everybody's stress levels down a little bit. So that's one of the things. New fires, multi-day fires. I think we've all experienced those in some way, shape, or form, where, you know, that fire is burning for a week, maybe 2, worst case scenarios, a month or more. And so as that fire perimeter gets updated, as the InstaWeb gets updated, as CAL FIRE sends out those official updates, instead of having to go look for them and hit refresh on your screen every 5 minutes, waiting for those updates to come through, we push them directly to your phone. So we're trying to just get all of that authoritative data straight into everybody's hands in a more timely manner. And then last, because as Nora talked about, you know, post-fire and pre-fire and all these phases of fire there's always weather that's coupled with it, right? So red flag warnings and watches, post-fire flooding, all of that stuff is now just built in to automatically send when the National Weather Service sends those updates. So that's really what we were after. But then we also took it a step further. So with our new fire notifications, we also like snapshot some important information, right? Like, what is some of those things that you need to know when a fire starts? Like, what's the temperature? What's the wind speed and direction? Like, if I could have one piece of information at any time when a fire starts, wind speed and direction would be like my go-to. More if you're like a little bit more familiar with your surroundings, like temperature and RH are pretty handy to have, but I mean, wind speed and direction, my favorite things. And then we took it one step further as well, and we visualized those winds. So not only, I mean, the heat of the moment that fire starts and you're like, which way is a north-northwest wind? I can't remember. Is it coming from it or is it going to it? And so we just visualize them on the map itself so that it's easier in stressful situations to have that visually. And we're going to demo it in just a minute too. Whoops. So then, like I talked about with the ongoing fire notifications, we do perimeter updates. We pull those directly out of InstaWeb and CAL FIRE, the official updates. There's a lot of other apps that will listen to feeds and different things. That's not what our intent is. And I think even in our information, like we point you towards watch duty, there's plenty of tools for the toolbox, right? Alert California. It's important for have all these tools in the toolbox, but just another tool that you can have if you want that quicker notification is our app. And then, like I talked about, National Weather Service watches and warnings. So pre-active post-fire weather, right? Weather is one of those drivers of wildfire, and it's so important to be aware of what's going on with the weather at any time. One of the things that also separates us is that we allow customizations. So if you want to know, like, so for example, in my household, we live here in Northern California. My grandparents live about 12 miles to the west of us. My in-laws live in Idaho. My best friend lives in Utah, and my cousins live in Cedarville and have cows. So it's like all these different places that you need to know about, like what's going on in a fire start. what's going on with that fire that's been burning by them for the last week. It just gives you that ability to customize. You don't have to have the entire county. You just have to know, you just want to know about where you're familiar with or where you're concerned about, right? Like maybe your parents live in the wildland, you still live in the city, but you want to know when a fire starts near them, right? Because you want to be able to help them in situations. We also allow you to completely customize those alerts. So if you only want new fire alerts, you can say, I only want new fire alerts for this area, or maybe you want all the alerts. Be fair warned, in the middle of fire season, you might also hate us. So please use notifications wisely and tailor them to your needs, because there's sometimes when even I'm doing the testing and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I get one more notification, I'm gonna scream. So you use the powers of notifications wisely, kids. And then just to give you kind of a timeline of where we've been, what we've been doing. So we did a soft launch in November. We're coming up next week. We're going to do like the official full launch. We're working on our very final bug. It's like an elusive little critter that's so close to being perfect, but that is one of the things that we're working towards is with Wildfire Preparedness Week next week is launching the official launch of the app. We are also integrating some early detection stuff into the app. So more than just the dispatch notifications, but also some satellite and some cameras, AI detection stuff that gets verified by people. We're hoping to have all that incorporated into the app by hopefully early fall. And then one of the things that we do see that we're working on for the future is what we're going to call the wildfire cone of confidence, which is similar to the hurricane cone of confidence, right? Like this is the general direction the hurricane is most likely to go. We want to take that and give the public that same level of information that we get with hurricanes over into wildfires. Like it shouldn't be a mystery which direction the fire is going, so we can start to have more of the public aware of what's going on. And we all know that there's like this taboo sometimes about, give the public too much information. But at the same time, I think giving them some basic information is imperative to them being able to make wise choices for themselves and their families. So I'm going to debut our lovely 30-second video because I'm in love with it personally. So we are going to see how this goes.
The fire started on September 27, 2020, and burned approximately 56,000 acres in the first 3 days. It destroyed over 200 homes and took 4 of our community members.
It was so bad that day. When I came out, it was a wall of fire coming right there. People think, oh, fire department's gonna save me. Well, you know what? They couldn't even make it here.
Mom looks at me and goes, what you really need to focus on is finding a way to get people notifications. There's cameras, there's different things. Nobody told us there was a thing. With the Wildfire Aware app, I will have a fighting chance. Where before we were totally dependent on other people to alert us.
People have livestock to get out, and that takes time. It does a little ding. It has home, and then it tells me each one of the kids' names and the wind advisory for them.
It's just a peace of mind in your pocket, knowing that you're going to be alerted no matter where you're at, and give you the knowledge that you need in order to be able to get out.
Having the Wildfire Aware app on my mom's iPad and on her phone, you can go to bed knowing that it will alert us and alert her, and that people in our community will be able to get out safe. It's very simple, it's easy, user-friendly, and straight to the point.
So there was the debut of our wonderful video. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the app itself. Give me 1 second while I get it swapped over here. So I will disclaim that everything will go wrong no matter what in a live demo, as Nora, graciously demonstrated for us initially. So I appreciate the bullet you took for the team, Nora. So one of the things, it does work on a few laptops. So if you have a Mac, it will work on your Mac, but it's really truly designed for phones and iPads. And when you first open the app up, if you allow it to know your location, it will zoom to the general location. And I'm sure Nora will notice quickly that it has all of the Alert California cameras in it, right? So if you wanted to say, let's say there was a fire right here by me, I can just hit the Rainbow Lake camera and it will pop me straight over into the Alert California website. But I want to stay in my own at the moment. Where'd it go? So the easiest thing to do is to go and set up notification areas. So we're going to go set up one that I'm hoping is going to produce me some lovely little notifications for us. As you can see, it geocodes. So like if you search an address, you can search a county, anything that you could search in like a Google map, you can pretty much search within to find your area, and it will zoom you in. You can begin. So I'm going to call this one Silver City, just so that I can keep track of it. You can make your, so this notification area is how many miles do you want to be concerned about? So again, I would err on the side of caution and not make it too big, or you might find about a few too many fires in your area. And then on the notification types down here at the bottom, you can do new fires, you can do multi-day fires, you can do your fire weather. I'm just going to keep them all right now because I know that there's a red flag warning, I think, still up for this area. So in the meantime, we're going to hang out here for a second and see if it'll come up. In the history, you'll be able to see any of the previous notifications you've gotten. So for example, I may have tried this earlier just to see if my fire would pop up. So when you get a new fire, this is some of that information that you see. And then if it is a red flag warning, this is the information that you'll see. And of course, because we're on a live demo, oh, there it goes. So this is our first notification. And we see that it was the Silver City fire. And so we can just hit view. And there's our fire that we just got notified about. So the fire notifications, will do it within 6 hours of a new fire. So for example, I just signed up for Wildfire Aware. I put in my location and it says, oh, there's already a fire in your area, because it was like within the 6 hour window. In the long term, you would only be getting them as they come up. And so in California right now, based off of how the system's working, we've been about 30 seconds from dispatch to it actually hitting into the app. In some of the other states, because we are nationwide out the gate, we are getting anywhere from about 5 minutes, anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes. But I mean, beggars can't be choosers is how I look at that sometimes. So it's way better than what it used to be. And then these are the winds, the animated winds. Oh, there's our red flag warning for the same area. And one of the highlights of, ooh, don't turn my map all crazy like that. One of the highlights is also the state of the app. You don't have to have the app open on your phone in order for you to get the notifications. So some of the other wildfire apps for notifications, you have to have your phone, that app running in the background on your phone in order to get those notifications. Ours actually push directly to your phone. So it's not, the app can be completely closed. You don't have to have it open to get that push notification, which is one of the most important things in my opinion, just because you never know what state your phone's going to be in, and you don't want to rely on making sure that you didn't close all your apps and forget to open that one app back up. So with that, that's kind of the Wildfire Aware app, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up to questions. Thank you guys all so much for your time, and welcome back, Nora.
Yes, I was going to say Nora made it back, and I know there's a few more things. So thank you so much, Rachael. That was really cool to see kind of the story of when it was just a thought in your head and something that you saw that your community really needed. And you were able to take that in such a short time and create something really useful out of it. So I'm excited to get to use it myself. And yes, please throw any questions that you have in the chat, or afterwards we can unmute y'all. But Nora, if there's anything else that you wanted to share, I'd love to pass it back your way.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do this, fingers crossed again. So I want to share what it's like to view a camera console page. So if you're logged in, this looks a little bit differently, but when you're actually directly looking at a camera console page, there are really key features that you have access to. So you can still use all of the map features that I talked about earlier on this page, but you can also view the camera feed, including a time lapse that goes back up to 12 hours. And then you get a 360-degree view of what the camera can see. So one important thing about our camera network is that these cameras are constantly spinning, and they are 360-degree PTZ cameras. So they have a 360-degree view shed. And so we've created essentially this panoramic image that is 6 pictures stitched together of that 360-degree view shed. And because the cameras are constantly spinning, we've made it so that the panoramic image below on the bottom of the screen there generates a new image every 5 to 10 minutes. We do that so that the camera doesn't wear its motors out. During fire season, we actually up that to every minute. So because we're not quite at fire season here for this particular site, we have it every 5 to 10 minutes. You can see how long ago this was taken, 7 minutes ago, roughly. And I have the option to actually go backward in time and view previous panoramic images. And so this is really important to be able to like watch how an incident develops. That's what many of our first responders use it for. We've actually developed an AI system. I'm not going to go too much into depth with that, but our AI system, it works both day and night. During daytime, we work on detecting smoke, and at nighttime we detect light differences in light changes because the camera functions differently at night. And so this panoramic image, actually, if I were to log in, I could show you and toggle the AI detection here. So say earlier we had an incident right around here, not too far from this reservoir concal. And so if I were to log in and go to when that incident happened in this panoramic image here, then it would show a little red box here with that detection. And so that just saves more time for first responders, because if they can see exactly where it is on the camera's azimuth here, which is that red target line that's moving in the map as I'm moving around, then it helps them get more precise lat longs, even though this mountain is all the way away from that actual detection that happened there. And as I mentioned, you can go backward in time with these panoramic images. So you can select a date even, and then go and select that time at that date, and then it will show you the panoramic image that was generated closest to that time. So you can see April 1st at 5:42 as the closest generated panoramic image this time. And it's showing me what that site looked like at that time. So you can see we had some weather during that going on. And so once we start being more public fronted with our AI, you should be able to see those detections there, but I just wanted to kind of show you what it's like to have that 360-degree view shed there, so that you have the ability to view that situational awareness and see what exactly a camera can see at your location. So that was really the last thing I did want to show you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And thank you so much for bearing with my technical issues. And thank you for that wonderful demonstration as well, Rachel. That's such a wonderful app. And I really love that it actually has like the wind direction, because we saw a wildfire breakout yesterday. We were working on testing AI, and our AI got the knob fire, which is an escape controlled burn that's now 200 or so acres. And so we were watching the wind direction as the detections were coming in repeatedly. And it was really cool to see. And now I'm like, oh, I could actually use Wildfire Aware to see exactly what direction the wind's moving in.
That's so cool that you actually used it. I was reading about the knob fire, and I think the LA Times published today that Chief Bahina said that the cause is actually still under an investigation, and it wasn't from a controlled burn. So that's good news for the Prescribed Burn Association around the state. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for hopping back on and showing us that as well. There's so many more features to the website than I think appear at first glance, because I've just used it a little bit. And so getting that tutorial is really useful. And now I know how to, save my own and what.
And
I
so
can
you don't even need a
find.
login to use all of that. I did that without even logging in at all.
That's really cool. And you're saying that first responders do have a login and they have access to even more features. Yeah.
Yes, we work
Awesome.
with various agencies and support 2,700 first responders in the system at the moment, and we're growing more and more with that.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, I don't think any of our attendees had any questions. I have maybe what seems, it's a simple question, but it's not immediately obvious to me. Can you speak to like the smoke visibility at nighttime? And are all of these cameras like night vision? How does that all work?
Okay, so smoke visibility at nighttime is actually really interesting. So it will depend on the heat intensity of the fire. The Caldor fire is a really good example of a fire that actually burned like very hotly at night. You can see on some of our cameras, Mount Occam 1 is a really good example. Normally when the cameras go to like night mode, it's really dark, and most of what you see are just lights, like street lights, car headlights. You can even see the stars from the constellations, and the moon as well. When the moon is full, it causes some false positives in our system. But what you're looking for at night is not really smoke. You're looking at changes in light. So to look for smoke at night is not really going to be particularly helpful. What you're looking for is changes in light. If something's flickering or if the light intensity changes, you can see structure fires on the cameras at night really easily, because whereas most structures, the lights will just appear as dots or something, you'll start to see a fire will get bigger, even if it's on the horizon. In fact, speaking of our AI, we actually caught a structure fire last November from 50 miles away. And then you could verify that it was a fire because you could see the change in light. You could see that light get bigger.
That's really fascinating. From 50 miles away. Wow. Wow. And all the cameras are capable of that. That's so interesting.
The camera view sheds, some of them have on clear days the capability to see up to 75 miles away for the knob fire. Some of the cameras by Bakersfield were actually able to visualize the smoke in the distance there. And yeah, we were able to link those detections all together.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing that this is all happening. So with your this AI testing that you're doing, did you mention that the website is becoming more public facing? Is that one of the goals that y'all have?
We primarily serve the first responders with this, so we want to make sure that we're just saving as much time and effort as possible with reducing dispatcher workload. So I'm not entirely sure in the future what our public facing aspect will be. At the moment, you can go to the website and use all of the features that I discussed here tonight. And then in the future, we'll just see exactly how successful it proves to be. Here in the operations center that I run here with Alert California, we support the first responders in their dispatch centers, but one of our main focuses is providing human confirmation for this AI, because we do know there's a lot of false positives. So we want to reduce that number and really make sure that the number of detections that we're getting and we're sending off to our first responders are accurate ones.
So does that look like people kind of like ground truthing and going out to the camera sites and seeing?
No, it's actually more GIS based. So how we confirm the lat longs or how we confirm the fire and the human confirmation of that is it's based really on the visuals and then also topographical reading. So we do a lot of sort of GIS reading of like, where is this fire actually located? What's the probability of it being located here? So that triangulation method that I told you about earlier is really integral to that. Also making sure that the camera's azimuth is accurate, so that way we can tell based on where the AI thinks it is, we can then verify and go and be like, well, actually, no, we think it's behind this ridge line, or no, it's actually not there. It's closer to this area. So it's kind of complicated, but that's a simplistic way to put it.
Okay, well, thank you for simplifying.
You're
I
making our
appreciate
old school lookouts high tech.
it. Yes, absolutely.
Basically, that's a great way to put it, Rachel. One of my colleagues used to be a U.S. Forest Service lookout, and so he's been really helpful with just making sure that when it comes to that topographical reading, that we are doing it accurately. And I'm pretty experienced with being outdoors myself. I'm not a forester by any means, but that kind of ability to take that lookout thing and then make it digitally viable is something that I really hope we can continue to do.
Absolutely, that's fascinating. And I think
My former dispatcher loves it. Like,
Mhm.
'cause when we
Yeah.
used to get lookout shots, and we would always wait for like the second lookout because we needed to like get the cross, and or
Right.
else it just like they never shot them very, very good. Like that first lookout never had it good, very good. It always took that second one to get them to cross, that you got a much better, much more accurate dispatch
Yeah.
of the deal.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're aiming for, is to make that same concept digitally viable, and therefore faster, again, to reduce the time that it takes to suppress an incident before it becomes another massive wildfire.
Right.
Well, and also the risk that it takes off the first responders too, right? How many over all the years, how many lookouts did we lose who were driving to or from the lookout?
Exactly.
And in rough terrain, or even last year with the Siskiyou fire. Forget what the name of that was up in Siskiyou, where the lookout actually lost her life when she was trying to come out of the area.
That was either the mill fire or one of the complexes up there.
It was like that one more to the northwest of the mill.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, well, that's also amazing that this is potentially keeping people safer. That's something that definitely, as a member of the public, much less experience in the back end and like involved in suppression, that doesn't immediately come to mind. And like technology is such an important tool. So I'm so grateful for both of your efforts in this and making this all possible. I suppose, Rachel, if you did want to speak to maybe like the importance, and I know your video touched on it and we were talking about it prior, but if you wanted to speak to it all, like the importance of the public's role in kind of empowering ourselves and what our responsibility is.
Absolutely. So like I said, I came from CAL FIRE. I will be the first to tell you that we will always try to protect people, life, and property. But there, especially in these fast moving wildfires that we're experiencing, it's just not always possible. So one of the things that I want to empower the public to be is wildfire aware. But more than just that, right? It's more than just knowing that a fire starts. It's also knowing like what type of defensible space you need. It's all those pieces to that puzzle that can make it survivable, right? Because we're in this period now where fires aren't what they used to be. When I started in 2006 with CAL FIRE, a large fire, like an oh my God moment, incident management team on their way to a fire, it was 1,000 acres in Mendocino. Like that was a big fire. Now we burn now if you told me you had 1,000 acre fire, I'm like, what's your problem? Put that out. That's your problem. Like you should have it out already. That's unrealistic, right? So now we need to be able to live with wildfire. And I think that's one of those things that we're all trying to navigate, right? Like, how do we live with wildfire? How does a community become safer, and how do we become more prepared? we can't always rely on other people to provide that for us. So we need to make sure that we take the steps necessary to protect ourselves, our family, and our property.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
Mhm. I think that's a perfect way to close us out and give everybody 8 minutes of your life back, because I don't think we have any questions from our attendees. So
Nobody wants to ask a single question. Come on,
know,
attendee.
huh? We want to hear from you. Maybe
We're just
this
talking
won't-
into space at the moment. Come on.
So thank you both so much for teaching us, and this recording is going to be available too. So if you have any use for it, we're just popping it on YouTube, and feel free to share in your circles as well. I think it'll be a great reference to have. And to our attendees, thank you for joining us on your Thursday evening. Please look into the Ventura County Wildfire Collaborative if you haven't already. If you're located in the Camarillo area, we are coming to you on May 30th. We have a wildfire town hall at the library, so we'd love to see you there. Hopefully you have access to my email already, but if you don't, throwing it in the chat, and you can always reach out to me with any questions you might have. With that, thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording. I hope to talk to you and cross paths with you both soon. Really appreciate it. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Mason.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.